In this video, I will reveal the new and fully managed marketing and prospecting system we're using to generate 1 to 3 additional listings each month for our real estate clients. And this is proof of that. This is our listing tracker, which registers hundreds of listings over the last couple of years. And we're doing this through what we call the Prospecting 2.0 method, which I'm going to cover in depth in this video. And it's night and day different than other marketing and prospecting methods you're familiar with because of how it's able to systematically and ethically manufacture trust with homeowners in your specific farm areas before you even speak with them or book in the appraisal or valuation. This leads to more appraisals, more listing appointments, higher show rates, higher conversion rates, and less work in the actual appointment. Best of all, our team can manage and set up the entire process for you so you can focus on what you do best, follow up on the opportunities we line up, conducting the appointments, and converting them into listings. So by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how the Prospecting 2.0 method works, how you can transition to this new model of prospecting, the components that make it work so effectively, and the inside secrets to how to make digital marketing work for real estate, even if it's never worked for you in the past, and specifically for the purpose of generating leads and listings and not just brand awareness, which is how most agents advertise. My name is Aidan Jefferson, founder at Generate Listings. I'm the guy that helps build marketing systems for some of the top real estate agents in Australia, New Zealand, USA, and Canada. In the last 4 years, we've worked with over 225 real estate agents, agencies, and brokerages globally, and even made the Australian Financial Review's Fast Starters list in 2023, being one of the fastest growing young companies in the country, the only real estate marketing company to feature. Now, with that being said, to start off with, we really need to take a look at that overarching philosophy or 30,000 foot overview of the entire digital marketing strategy that makes this method work, so we can actually understand what makes a profitable client acquisition system for real estate and the steps that need to be taken to make this work in your business. Because even if a single step is missing, we could waste a lot of money. So without further ado, let's dive in.
So first things first, we really want to look at what the goal of our campaign actually is in running a successful marketing campaign for real estate. So what we want to be doing here is we actually want to be generating what we call leads. And by leads, I mean high quality inbound prospects. So in real estate, if we're talking about sellers, these are going to be homeowners that are inquiring with your brand directly from your ads and who are potentially looking to sell their property now or in the future. So they're essentially taking that first step in a process that eventually leads them to selling their home. And this typically starts with an initial consult to start that relationship with the agent, or an in-person appraisal or appointment, so we can start having more conversations at scale in a way that those people are coming to us in an inbound manner. So how can we actually generate high quality inbound prospects? So there's really only two main ways for inbound prospects. We can either use paid traffic or we can use organic or essentially free traffic. Now, for most agents, you're going to be very familiar with the traditional methods of prospecting, the fly drops, cold calling, door knocking. These all would fall under more of an outbound marketing approach, where we actually have to reach out to those homeowners directly, and then we have to make a certain amount of dials until we find that one person that has any kind of interest in what we're offering, as opposed to inbound, where basically that person's already opting in directly with us, right? So there's a bit of a difference there. Now, of course, traditional methods we recommend, you do as a really good fundamental base. In real estate, you should know how to prospect. You should know how to do those basic things because you're always going to have some leads if you're doing that. But of course, we want to start transitioning to a more leveraged model as well on top of your existing prospecting, because you only have so many hours in the day. So we need to start becoming more efficient and moving into getting in inbound prospects, inbound leads, right? So as I mentioned, there's two main. We've got paid traffic. We've got organic traffic. So when we're talking about paid traffic, we talk about social media ads to actually generate those opportunities. And then we've got organic, where we've got personal branding, consistent posting on social media to try to get leads that way, just through the existing audience you have and using the algorithms to their advantage. So in an ideal world, I should say, in an ideal world, we really want to be doing both paid traffic and also organic. However, for the sake of this, if we could do just one or the other, we really want to be focusing on paid traffic initially, because that's going to be the fastest way to being able to get leads. We could get leads tomorrow using paid traffic and running social media ads, because we're paying for that reach, and we don't need to have any kind of brand. We don't need to have any number of followers. We don't need to be YouTube following or anything to be able to get leads from paid traffic on social media. Whereas when we're talking about organic, it obviously takes a lot of time to build up a personal brand. It takes a lot of effort to do a lot of consistent posting and start building that up gradually, brick by brick. A lot of the results from organic content on any of these platforms, whether that's Instagram, YouTube, any of them, can take, a lot of it's going to come from 6+ months of consistent posting. So really, when it comes to starting to getting more opportunities, more conversation today, paid traffic is going to be our best bet. So just that we've got that out of the way, let's look at kind of paid traffic, how we can do this. The paid traffic that we run and the ads that we're running through social media, they're also going to improve the performance of the traditional types of prospecting that we're doing as well. So when people do pick up the phone, we've already had multiple touch points from them, from ads. They might have already seen our ads when we cold call them. So it's going to help that side of it as well, which is why this is really the first thing we want to focus on when it comes to getting in inbound opportunities and those inbound prospects. So when we're talking about running these ads, we want to focus on either getting sellers or we're focusing on getting buyers. So if you're in Australia and New Zealand, it's most likely that you want to start generating more seller opportunities. So that's where we really get into the seller leads side of things. And then for, in the US, you might be looking for, buyers as well, because you also get compensated on that side. So when it comes to generating sellers, there's really only 2 ways we can go about it. We can either run some sort of home evaluation type ad or price update ad, or we can run a lead magnet ad to some sort of guide or resource that helps them increase the value of their property. Because ultimately, those are the 2 main motivations that a homeowner has, is either to find out where their property sits within the market, and they can find out what their property is, what the value of it is, because that's about them, right? Or it's about increasing the value of their property and how they can do that. So that's really where those 2 angles come in. Now, of course, historically, home evaluation ads have been the best performing that we can run. So these have performed the best, the most evergreen, the highest chance likelihood of actually working, generating consistent leads would come from some sort of home evaluation or price update campaign. Now, of course, this isn't the most differentiated strategy, but when it comes to being able to start more conversations with homeowners at scale, this is the most effective. And we've proven this over millions of dollars in ad spend, that this just works the best out of anything we've ever run. So that's really the space we want to be playing in, is doing proven lead generation ads. So a big misconception that we have in the real estate space is that we want our ads, our lead generation ads, I should say, to be significantly differentiated from what other agents are doing. Now, there's obviously a few different ways we can deliver on this type of strategy. There's different variations of it, which makes a difference to the performance. But ultimately, the goal of this is to generate leads, and we want to do what works to generate leads. A goal is not necessarily to stand out with a lead generation campaign. It's to just be able to generate these inbound prospects. Now, if we're talking about standing out, that would be a brand awareness type campaign where we're focusing on the branding. We're not necessarily going to get any leads from it, but it's there just to help our overall image. Some of the other things we do, some of the strategies that we implement for that will help with that. But when we're talking about this first step, we're really looking at the overall lead generation campaign, and they're kind of the main angles that are going to work the best for doing that. The most predictable, reliable ways to generate listing opportunities at scale. So that is that. And then eventually we can add on that personal branding. We can start building that brand up as well. And we have more content going out. As people start seeing our content, that's also going to increase the lead quality from the leads we're getting from our ads, right? So it all goes together as an ecosystem. That's really the way we want to look at it. But once we've started to get those opportunities coming in, this is really where we get to the actual appointment setting systems, and we need to have very specific systems for setting appointments with those prospects so we can start getting our feet in those doors. So real estate as an industry is a little bit different in this way, in the fact that it's obviously such a big investment for someone. Their home is likely the biggest asset that they have, with a lot of the vendors that we're going to be working with. So obviously they don't part with that easily. So as a result, the back end process in terms of how we speak to these people once they're leads, the type of conversation that we have is going to be very, very important. So the appointment setting part of this is almost the most important part, because then when we're getting leads, if we can't actually set them and we can't have the right conversation and provide them with that value, we're never actually going to get our feet in those doors, right? So this is where it comes down to having specific follow-up procedures in place. In the case of some of our clients, we use an AI sales assistant and appointment booking agent that actually book appointments via SMS or Messenger directly on the calendar for our clients. And then also, manual follow-up processes, so proven scripts, dialogues that we know are proven to work for booking these leads in. And then we can also throw in things like SMS blasts or database reactivations once a quarter to re-engage some of those older leads that maybe went cold or didn't actually convert to an appointment initially. We need a very robust system in place for appointment setting. That is the next component that we need to get this to work. The next thing would be the actual longer term nurture. So having some sort of longer term nurture sequence that actually indoctrinates leads. So I would call them like an indoctrination sequence. And then what we call the authority clip, which is basically specific video marketing that's almost acting as more of that brand awareness campaign. But in this case, it's built specifically to boost trust with homeowners. So they're seeing our ads, then they're seeing our authority clip. That's boosting the trust of those people. That's making you stand out more, be that more authority agent in the market. And that's all going to go into having those extra touch points that are going out to these people. And then we've got this sales and lead conversion side of things. Once we've got the appointments, it's just all about what we're doing once we're in the door. So this is where we get into things like maximizing those referrals, getting more and more referrals off the back of the listing that we've already acquired, and then piggybacking, which would be if I have one listing, I can piggyback off that one to get more listings through either canvassing the street, door knocking the street, all of those specific things from the open home. We should be able to get one listing and turn it into 2 or 3 very realistically. So that is the overall process that we look at for real estate marketing. We're obviously focusing on getting in the inbound opportunities through paid traffic, then eventually starting to build a brand through organic as well. And then we're putting in place really those appointment setting systems. And all of this should be supplementing, really enhancing any kind of traditional or existing methods that you're already using. Then we're going to have really solid appointment settings. So follow-up procedures, the AI sales assistant, having some sort of really solid appointment booking happening through proven scripts. We've got reactivations happening for older leads in the pipeline. And then we've got longer term nurture. So we're having consistent touch points via email, SMS that are going out, nurturing those leads, providing them with valuable content, as well as having that authority clip. So they're seeing you on video in front of them in those specific core farm areas. We want to make sure this is very geographically targeted. So they're seeing you in those specific farm areas, and we're providing them with value through that video. And that's going to help increase our brand, and that's going to help with that overall brand awareness and standing out from the crowd that we want. And then it comes down to that overall sales lead conversion, maximizing those referrals and the piggybacking. So now that we know specifically where all of these things fit in a marketing process for real estate, we need to dive into our prospecting 2.0 method and exactly the elements where we implement them, how that works, and the exact process that we're going through to have a holistic process that is actually going to effectively build a predictable, consistent pipeline of opportunities and also build trust so we can actually ethically manufacture that trust with those prospects before we even speak to them as well, and then have the ongoing appointment setting, systems in place, and a really refined sales process that is necessary in an industry like real estate where we are seeing longer sales cycles versus selling e-commerce products online or anything like that. And then the actual lead conversion side of it and that back end where we're talking about compounding off the back of the referrals, the piggybacking that we just went over. So this is essentially the prospecting 2.0 method and all of the things that make it up. Now, I won't go too in depth as to what goes into every single little element here. I'm just going to look at the overall, that's the 30,000 foot overview of what we're trying to accomplish here. So the first thing we want to be doing is we install what we call our seller attraction ads framework. So this is where we're actually running our proven ads that actually enable us to generate consistent seller opportunities and do that through our social media, and we're going to apply that into your market. So those are those specific different types of lead magnets, specific types of home evaluation ads. If we're generating buyers, then we could be running just listed ads or homes list ads, where we're advertising a list of homes in your market, under $1 million, for instance, get access to this list of homes. That's going to attract buyers. So if you're like an agent in the US or Canada and you want to get buyers, that is a good way to do it. Now, of course, in Australia, we're focusing primarily on sellers, and then we might run these just listed and also just sold campaigns as a more vendor paid marketing type campaign. So we want to be very geographically targeted, getting onto the actual farm areas themselves, and then sending those people to start clicking on our ads and start inquiring into our ads, and we're getting their attention with those homeowners in your specific farm areas that we're focusing on. And then they're going to go through some sort of qualification questions funnel where they're answering a series of questions to actually become a lead. Things like name, email, phone number, street address, time frame is typical. Sometimes we can have extra questions in there as well. And then from there, they actually become a lead. And we can even send them to what we'd call an intro to agent video. And then it's getting sent to that next step in the process, which is the follow-up, which I'll get into in a second. And we can also have a calendar booking page set up on the back end. So after they've seen that initial video from the agent, a bit of a primer on the agent themselves, they can actually book in directly through the calendar booking link that we've set up with the agent, and they can actually select a time off the back of that. Not everyone's going to book directly, but we can pick up a few extra bookings just by having that calendar booking page on the other end of that survey or funnel that they've gone through. And then we also have what we call that authority clip, which is going to help to nurture, build trust with those leads by basically positioning you as that expert, that you are an area specialist, you know what you're talking about, you're credible, provide actual value to the people in the market. And that's going to help improve the performance of all of the seller attraction ads that we're running from step one. Then from there is really where we get into that overall follow-up. So that's when the agent actually receives the lead. Now, at this point, we might have a few that have booked directly on the calendar. So for those, you can obviously just call to confirm the actual appraisal appointment. But there's going to be people that haven't booked yet. So obviously you're going to be calling the leads as soon as they come in. Speed to lead is extremely vital at this point. And then we also have what we call AI Ashley, which is basically our AI sales assistant that can actually book appointments directly on the calendar with you via either SMS or Messenger, depending on how we set it up. And that can follow up with leads 24/7, 365 around the clock, essentially. But by having that combination of human follow-up plus AI follow-up, we're going to have the highest conversion rates, the highest booking rates, and we're going to have the least amount of people that are actually slipping through the cracks and we're not following up with appropriately. We want to make sure we have both of those things in place so we are getting the absolute highest cut through on the people that we're speaking to. So that's the appointment setting. That's why we're having those scripts for the human follow-up. So having specific scripts, exactly what to say to leads that we've seen work for hundreds of agents, and then having the AI as well, which can basically book appointments directly onto your calendar, just like with that calendar booking page. So some people may have already gone through that. You can have a further conversation with those leads, find out even more about the property, and then can actually book in appointments directly. And then at that point, you're able to have that appraisal appointment, then that listing appointment, and then obviously sign the listing, start moving into that compound effect of advertising. You can have the referrals, the piggybacking, and then once we know exactly what those numbers look like, how much we actually spent in ad spend to acquire a listing, and we know what that KPI is, we can just scale up our ad spend. If we know we're spending $1, we're getting $8 back, or we're even getting $5 or $2 back, then we can just increase. Maybe we had to spend $1,500 to acquire a client, a listing that has a GCI of $10,000. So with that, we'd be up $8,500 positive. Maybe have a couple of expenses out of that, but ultimately there's certain expenses that our business is going to incur regardless. So we're positive on that. We know what those numbers look like, and it's within KPI, so we can just scale it up further, increase the ad spend that we're doing. Now, a couple other important parts of this, without me getting super detailed on it, having some sort of automated reminders that are going out once those appointments are booked, so they know that their appointment is at that time, or you're going to be at the house for that appraisal at that specific point in time. So automated appointment reminders, having specific campaigns going out for SMS and emails reminding them, and then also having longer term nurture. So having the emails, the SMS, and also those ongoing database reactivations is a really important part of the process. So to quickly summarize, we are generating those inbound opportunities predictably, reliably through seller attraction ads framework. And then from there, actually, getting that in front of the homeowners in those farm areas, where we can take them to a qualification funnel. Then we can send them to specific video content and also retarget them with what we call the authority clip. So they're starting to see that as and build up the brand over time through that video that's going out to people. And then we can have different mechanisms for booking them in, the AI, as well as having really solid appointment setting on the back end with yourself as the agent, or if you have someone that comes into the team as a prospector that is calling those leads. And then from there, it all comes down to that overall sales process. Once you're in the door, making sure we're increasing those show up rates with the reminders, and then automated longer term nurture, email, SMS consistently, and then ongoing quarterly database reactivation to pick up on those older leads that have maybe gone a little bit cold. And then we can focus on compounding our results through the referrals and through piggybacking. We know the numbers, we can continue to scale it up at that point. That is the overall process, how everything works. So if you want our team to come in and set up and manage this entire process for you, then click the link in the description below and you'll be able to actually book in a call with our team to have a bit of a conversation around implementing this specifically into your real estate business. Maybe you're seeing this and you've already got a call scheduled with us. I hope this has given you a pretty good understanding of how the overall process works without diving in too much into the weeds there. Otherwise, you can check out some of our other videos that are going to appear on the screen about now. I'll see you guys later.